And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Can I take this? Yeah,
There
you
you
can.
Oh.
There we go. It was stuck. It was stuck in there. I just got turned on, right? Is it on now? No. All right, Jerry, how do I do this? We weren't sure if they were working quite
They're not
correctly,
quite as
so-
loud as you would expect them to be, but they are on.
Is it working now? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me without it.
Yeah, you probably don't need it.
Right.
We don't have a huge auditorium. It's nice though, very nice. Well, my name is Ellen Bartlett. And my wonderful husband sitting right here. We spent 20 years, well, he spent 20 years in Washington. And I took hundreds of people on tours of the White House and the Capitol. Because a lot of people in Western Maryland are afraid of DC. Do you know that? That's true, they are. But I should say the Bartlett Farm was purchased in 1961 on Buckystown Pike, just north of Buckystown. 10 children have grown up in our home. We have milked cows, we've had sheep and goats. We've had a wonderful time. Our children learned a lot of things on that farm. Of course, we learned a lot of things from the children too. It's amazing what you can learn from the kids if you listen to them. And we did. And we appreciated that very much. When he was elected to Congress, I thought I'd better get acquainted in the neighborhood because I'd been pretty busy. The only thing I'd been involved in was the homemakers clubs. The Buckystown Homemakers. And my neighbor, Dorothy Dudrow, and then my mother and my mother-in-law lived with us for about 12 years. And so the three of us would go with Dorothy and we would go to Buckystown Homemakers, right there in Buckystown. And we really enjoyed the Homemakers Clubs. So I've been a member of that for many, many years. And then since then, I've been a member of the Officers' Wives Club of Fort Detrick and the, oh, let's see, what are all the clubs? And yeah, oh goodness. For the Homemakers Club from 1999 to 2000, I was the president of all the Homemakers Clubs in Frederick County. At that time, we had a lot of clubs, but I guess I'm time's up. Anyway, I've had a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Jerry Donald. I'm from Braddock Heights. I was born in Frederick County 50 years ago, this fall. I grew up in Braddock Heights, went to schools in Frederick, and then when they built some new buildings, they transferred us all over here, and I went to the Middletown schools. And the first year here, I got to meet my basketball coach. He was a senior in high school then, so we met each other 40 years ago. I grew up in Braddock Heights, went to this local high school, played lots of sports there, went away to college, worked for Representative Beverly Byron, came back here to teach school. Taught at South Hagerstown, taught at Linganore High School, taught at Heather Ridge School, and been teaching at Middletown High School. It's my 27th year altogether. It's my 12th year at Middletown High School. My activities in the community. I have been a football official. I've been a coach. I have been active in many things in the school, department chair, different boards, curriculum writing. I have been the president and on board of the Braddock Heights Community Association, where we run the park, we run the pool, things like that. I'm married. My wife's here. My youngest daughter's here. We have two other daughters. And that's what I've basically done in the community. You may know my folks. Ruth Donald worked at Frederick Memorial Hospital for over 30 years in critical care. And my father, Carl Donald, was a principal at Middletown Middle. He started at West Frederick Junior High School. He was principal at Middletown Middle, and he was principal at Brunswick Middle School, and he was in the system for quite a while. So that's my family, that's who I am, and thank you for this opportunity this evening.
Why did you want to run for county council?
I was frustrated with what had been going on in the county the last 4 years. I understood that we were in a recession and that things had to be changed. There's no doubt about that. Money wasn't raining from the sky. But I didn't like a lot of the things that had gone on under the guise, to me, of supposedly privatization and making things tighter for the county, I didn't think were necessary. If that were true, then the county budget wouldn't have gone up as much as it did. The fire taxing wouldn't have gone up the way it did. The idea that the budget was being squeezed in education, that the leader of the county commissioners said not one dime more than maintenance of effort. In other words, you're going to get $2,009 forever. That bothered me, because I said to myself, that's not just bad for the school system, okay, that's part of the community, that's bad for everybody. If you own a house and you have bad schools, your property value is going to go down. Your wealth is going to go down. I didn't want to see that happen in our community. I didn't think we could take 4 more years of that. I didn't like the tax increment financing. We haven't talked about that much in this whole campaign. Tax increment financing started out in California. And the idea was basically you take a rundown area in a city, you set up a special taxing district, you try to encourage businesses there and all that stuff. We were doing tax increment financing in this area, which is kind of a giveaway for people to redevelop. And that's fine if you're in an area that needs that sort of thing. We were doing it for housing developments. We're doing it for this Jefferson Tech Park, which I think is a terrible mistake and a giveaway. So these things bothered me, and I thought, well, I could complain. Okay, do a lot of that. I could help somebody run for office, and I looked around for people who wanted to run, and all the good people I know decided they wanted to do something else. And I decided, well, I'm going to run. What's the worst case scenario? So here I am.
Okay, why did I file to run for county council? I filed the last day, and I thought, you know, they need a woman on that county council. We have 5 county commissioners, and they're all men. I think it's about time we had a woman's voice on that county council. We have issues as women, as homemakers, as working women, as mothers, and as grandmothers. We have issues that the men really don't understand. And so I thought, well, why not? I think I can tell them what for every now and then. So that is why I filed to run. And I think I've proved the point. I am a Republican. And when it came through the election in the spring, the primaries, I was the only woman that won. So I am the only woman on the Republican side. And I think that we need a voice on this county council. And we'll see how this election goes. I've already voted, as you can see, I early voted. And that is really nice over there at the senior center. A lot of people are early voting. It was a beautiful day today, a wonderful time to vote. I think we have issues here in Frederick County. I don't want to see Frederick County become like Montgomery County. I just don't think we need that. I don't think we need all this multi-family housing that we have. Remember the wonderful Golden Mile that we had out there on Route 40? It's not so golden anymore, is it, folks? It's really not. So we need to look at this very carefully. So that's why I thought.
For economic incentives for businesses to locate in our towns, what role do you see Frederick County playing in helping create economic opportunity for job growth?
Job growth is very important. We need businesses here. But we are in the state of Maryland, you must understand. The taxes are high in Maryland. When people reach retirement age, where do they go? They move to Virginia or to Pennsylvania or West Virginia. They move out of Maryland because our taxes are too high in Maryland when you're retired. We chose not to leave Maryland. I think Maryland's a beautiful state, and Frederick County especially is a beautiful, beautiful area. And we need to keep it beautiful. We have beautiful farms. We have so many things here. And businesses, there's no reason that we have online now. How many of you have a computer? Let me see your hand. How many have a computer? You have a cell phone. You have a computer in your cell phone, right? Why do we need all these buildings? Our youngest son got his doctorate degree at Carnegie Mellon. He works online. He works for a business down in Tennessee, but he works online. And we can do a lot of that here in Frederick County. And we don't need a lot of infrastructure for all, even the government offices can allow a lot of people to work online.
question was, what role does the county council play in job growth here in Middletown? The one big thing we have is the Main Street program, which you all have taken advantage of, and Main Street businesses that are encouraged to come here. So that funding is an important issue. Good schools are important because people want to locate in an area where there are good schools and you have people around and they want to come to Main Street businesses. So this is the two biggest things. Zoning is another issue. Zoning things outside, inside the town, that's all yours. And there's not a whole lot of interface with the county on that type of thing. Once you have a thing zoned, once the town reaches out and says these are our borders, that they annex anything, that's theirs. And all we can do is try to encourage growth of businesses by putting housing growth in smarter places. Those are the biggest things we can do for a place like Middletown. What we want to encourage are good jobs, clean jobs, but mostly small business jobs in a place like this. This is not an area where you want an industrial park with a large footprint that's going to mess up the area. That's really not what I think this part of the valley wants or needs until maybe down toward Brunswick there's a possibility you could do something with an industrial park in that area. But for the most part, the mid-valley area is not something that the county should do, and I would work hard to make sure that businesses are small businesses in this area and not like large industrial parks and things.
Okay, next, District 1 area. And what steps would you take to either curb or facilitate growth?
My opinion on growth is this. Over the last 4 years, and really a little longer than that, housing growth in the county has been fairly slow. That's not because of what the county's done, that's because of the economy. The demand just hasn't been there for it. But what the county has done has, through the zoning that they have done and what they've allowed to happen, is there's a huge pipeline of potential houses. Over 20,000 of these that are sitting out there. So it's not, right now if you say, well, how much development's in the county, it's a fairly low number. It's in the hundreds and has been in the hundreds, and almost all of that has been in the municipalities. So the growth itself hasn't been strong. The problem is when the economy picks up, you've now created this huge pipeline where growth could take off if the demand is there for it. So it's a funny question about growth, you know, is it too slow, is it too fast, what's there? That's the situation. It's fairly slow right now. But the concern is either it could go very quickly with this pipeline of people. And you do need to have some housing pipeline. I don't want to go out and downplay, you know, hit hard on people. You know, it's easy to be tough on a developer right now. But you have to have some houses in the pipeline if you're going to attract businesses to the area. Because they have to have some place to live. But what you have right now is a huge potential number of things that could explode. And then you have to put all the infrastructure in there for it. Now, in District 1, this hasn't been a high growth area. But your tax dollars still go down to District 2 to pay for the infrastructure that's going to go in Monrovia and places like that, because it's across the board taxing here. So while we might not see the growth in the area, you're going to feel it in your pocketbook.
Growth in District 1. We have farms here in District 1. And we need to protect our farmland. I don't want to see multi-housing and a lot of multi-family apartments and that kind of thing in District 1. I don't think that's appropriate. The president of the Maryland Farm Bureau lives right here in District 1. We really need to protect District 1. And I would vote against a lot of new housing.
Experience and understanding of government budgets and spending.
I guess that's for me again. As I said, my husband spent 20 years in Washington. So we have discussed an awful lot about government spending. And believe me, the government knows how to spend money. Just give them more money and they'll spend more money. But we've been trying to cut it in Washington. And you know, about the most difficult thing you can do in Washington is to cut spending. And the same thing happens here in Frederick County. Well, I understand that the 5 county commissioners that we've had in the past, the 4 years, when someone retires, they find that that job really, we can handle that job without that person. So They didn't really fire anyone, they just didn't replace a lot of people that retired. So therefore, the spending in Frederick County has gone down. But when I'm on the county council, I'll be having an opportunity to see the budget much more closely and to see where the spending is occurring, because that's what I really want to see. I like to see where the spending is going because I handle apartments and I am very, very tight-handed when it comes to financial spending.
Assume the county executive is a member of the political party opposite of yours. Describe how you, as a legislator, plan to work with the county executive to manage the issues that will arise during this first term in a county executive and county council form of government.
We have political parties and have had since the beginning of the Republic, and for good reason at the national level. There are serious philosophical differences. The state level, there are philosophical differences, and we may disagree at the county level, but honestly, is there a partisan side to trash? Is there a partisan side to roads? Is there a partisan issue? I mean, we may disagree, but it doesn't have to be partisan. So I would try to work with anybody, whoever we have for the county executive. I would work with them.
Political parties, what an interesting thing. I was always voting for Beverly Byron, but I'm a Republican. Whoever the county executive will be in this new form of government we have, it won't make any difference based on what issues we have that come before us. We have to vote on the issues independently of who the county executive is. I remember you used to have to get a permit to install a dishwasher. Well, this last group of 5 men, fortunately for them, they did away with that requirement for a permit to install a dishwasher. And there were a lot of permits required for a lot of silly things that we really should not have to get a permit to do that. But I will be able to work with whoever the county executive is, and I will stand my ground. I want you to know, as a woman and a voice for the women on the county council, I will be able to see things that maybe the men won't be able to see because we have special abilities.
If so, what services would you envision being cut to make up for the loss of revenue?
I don't think that we really need to do a lot of cuts in services. There's still a lot of duplication. I talked to you about the permits we had to get. But there's still a lot of duplication, and I need to find out where it is, and a lot of inefficiencies in this county. I know there is, and I'm good at finding things like that, as most of our homemakers are. We're good at finding issues like that, and I will be looking for them. I don't want to raise any taxes, but I'll tell you, we don't need any cut in services. We need the services here in Frederick County. I don't want Frederick County to be like Montgomery County. Oh, please, no.
Am I in favor of cutting taxes? If so, what services would I envision cutting? That's the question. We have had some tax cuts, but the easiest thing to do in politics, I've found, is be against building anything, be in favor of a tax cut, and be in favor of services, and just it's somehow magically going to get paid for. To be realistic, as the way the situation is right now in Frederick County, the taxes we pay for the services we need, and we have to have a balanced budget. If we were to cut taxes right now, the services we would cut, we would have problems filling in the potholes, we would have problems paying for the school system. And if you have bad roads and bad schools, you don't attract businesses, your housing value goes down. So I think a cut in taxes at this moment would actually hurt our wealth and hurt the county economy. So I'm not really in favor of it this time. We've kind of cut to the bone on these things. I know it's easy to say, well, we ought to do that, but I'm against it. I don't want to cut taxes so that we have to build cheap schools again. I lived through that in the 70s. And I don't want to see us building schools, you know, we built some pretty cheap schools that are 50-year mistakes. They are 50-year, 60-year mistakes. Where I teach, between my room and the next room, is a curtain. You can call it an accordion wall, but it's a curtain. Okay? And generations of kids see stuff like that. Those are mistakes that hurt us overall. So I really don't want to cut back to the bone where we have to build things like that again. Thank you.
We have grandchildren in our schools, and some of them are in portables. It's true. We do need more schools. We need better schools. We need to balance the growth so we don't overcrowd our schools. Right now, our schools are not overcrowded, I understand. I'm not an expert, I'm not on the school board, so I don't really know, but I know what the grandchildren tell me. That they're in a portable, and Grandma, there's no bathroom in the portable. And little 5-year-old Pearl, she has to go out in the cold weather to find a bathroom. You know, this has got to end. We have to have good schools in Frederick County. Now, why do we have to build schools that are all so different? I think an elementary school is an elementary school. And I should think that the necessity is the same. So why do we have to pay architects to make these? Ballinger Creek Pike. Have you seen the schools on Ballinger Creek Pike? Have you seen the Tuscarora High School? It's not my choice. Have you seen the construction that's going on beyond there? It's already overcrowded there. We really need this. But I think that we can handle the tax situation without cutting services. And I think that if we really try hard, we can make Frederick County more attractive to businesses that will move here, because we have one very special thing. We have some very intelligent people here living in Frederick County. So we have a working force that I should think businesses would want. But unfortunately, we're in Maryland. So
How would you help to attract the tourism industry to our communities, given the amenities that we each already have? Would you be willing to work with other state agencies on our behalf? Brunswick, C&O Canal, Burkittsville, Gatland, and Gatland Parks, Middletown, golf courses, and county park.
is that me?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
How many of you remember Delegate Joe Bartlett? That's our son. He spent 12 years as your delegate. Well, he moved to Annapolis. But his house, and he had a cute little cabin, he goes online and advertises that for rent, for people who want to see the historic area in Frederick County and in Boonesboro. All the wonderful areas we have so much history in this area. And this computer, it's amazing. You can go online and you can learn all kinds of things. And he keeps that cabin full most of the time by advertising to see the attractions here in Frederick County. So I think that we can do very well. A lot of tourists do come here, and we have some wonderful businesses that they come for.
Attracting tourism to our communities. One of the big things that this area can exploit and enjoy is the bicycle tourism. It's cheap, it attracts people generally with money, and they come here to spend it, and then they leave. That's a win on all parts, for small businesses, for everything involving that. The other big thing is Civil War tourism. So those are the two big areas we can try to improve. What I mentioned before concerning roads, I have an issue with roads around here, and that's the fact that we have too many shoulderless roads. Not only is that dangerous for drivers, not only is that dangerous for people trying to get their mail, not only is that dangerous for pedestrians, it makes it very difficult for bicyclists who clog up the roads, or with a hard shoulder they can get off the side of the road. That makes this whole valley an attraction for tourists when you do that. The other issue is we have to consider pulling people in for our Civil War attractions, and this valley's full of them. Burkittsville, Middletown, those are areas with prime Civil War attractions, and anything the county can do to promote that, I'm willing to be a part of.
What are your,
Mrs. Bartlett, state money for a Rural Legacy Program has worked very well in the past to help landowners in the Burkittsville, Middletown region offset the rising temptation to develop their land instead of keeping it in agricultural status. Since this allocation of money from the state has been decreasing over the past several years, are there other ways that you can think of to help encourage property owners to join privately or publicly funded land grants in order to direct the growth to existing municipalities where the growth infrastructure is already in place?
That rural legacy money. I think adequate public facilities ordinance will direct that growth in southern Frederick County and almost anywhere. And major developers, maybe, I think they should be asked to contribute rural legacy money. If they're going to develop something, then maybe they should contribute this rural legacy money. And then maybe, if they don't want to do that, then they won't come.
The Rural Legacy Program, which was mentioned, is very big in the center of the valley, especially around the area of Burkittsville. Paul Gilligan and some others worked very hard to make that happen, which preserved Burkittsville itself as the kind of town that it is. About 150 people, and they want to keep it that way. They're not looking for large amounts of growth. And that program, basically what you're doing is, every farm has a certain number of options that they can develop. And you're paying farmers to basically take that option from them. They get money, and they keep farming, and it takes away some of the development rights. But outside of Rural Legacy, you have other farm programs that you can use to answer your question. You have Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program, and most of these things deal with grants. I don't want to get into all the details, but that's another option you can use. You have the Critical Farms Program, and that saves over 3,000 acres in this county alone. And you got the Maryland Environmental Trust, which has preserved over 8,130 acres in Frederick County. So these are all options you can use beyond the Rural Legacy Program. As a way of keeping farms as farms, that's done through the comprehensive cycle. And the comprehensive planning cycle is coming up. This first new board of county council men and women will be able to sit down and look at that. And what you have to do basically through that cycle is to push growth toward the areas where you have the infrastructure, push it toward the areas where the towns want it, where they can control what goes on inside their borders. So that's the big issue. Once you set up a plan that has to be approved by the state, you don't want to then go giving exceptions to the plan, because that just messes up everything. So in the end, what the county has to do is come up with a good zoning plan for the next cycle, which will last you 10 years, and that zoning plan needs to be enforced.
Recycle. We have chickens. Now don't be shocked. We live on a farm in the country and we have chickens. And when I have leftover food, you know where it goes? It does not go into the garbage. It does not go into the trash. It goes to the chickens and they make eggs out of it. And it's wonderful, and we eat the eggs. So reduce, reuse, recycle. And in southern Frederick County, we have a lot of farmers and a lot of chickens. And did you know that it is legal to have chickens in southern Frederick County? It is legal. And chickens are really pretty. Some of them are so cute. Have you seen a little Silkie? Oh, they're beautiful chickens. They're really beautiful. But how would we like it if Virginia was hauling trash into Maryland and put it in our valleys? How would we like it if Pennsylvania came and hauled trash and put it in Frederick County valleys? We wouldn't like that much. How many of you have been over to the landfill? I shouldn't call it a landfill. It is called, where you take your trash and they what is it?
Transfer station.
Transfer station, there you go. The transfer station, how many, raise your hand, have you been to a transfer station? So you've seen what happens. Have you seen what they put over there? Things that should not be there. A lot of things can be recycled. Have you been over in Wrightsford Road where they have the recycling place? You could recycle a lot of things over there.
We are just coming upon our last question for the evening, so if you've prepared any questions in the audience, we'll take about 10 minutes or three questions or so from you as audience members.
Okay, Mrs. Bartlett, do you think that water and sewer rates should be funded through an enterprise fund? And if so, do you believe that rates must be set to meet or exceed the overall expenses?
Water and sewer, that's a big problem. It really is. And I think a lot of us can really be more careful and use less if we need to. But that's an expense in our cities. And we do have cities down here in southern Frederick County. We have right here in Middletown. And we have to handle that problem of water and the sewer. And that's an expense we just really have to handle. So the rates should cover the expenses. That's just the way it is, folks.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a fairly simple question. Any place that runs water and sewer has to make sure that its rates cover its expenses. It's a separate budget, it runs that way. Any place that I can think of, and it's the right way to handle it. So it's that simple. And you have to set aside money in order to keep up the infrastructure on water and sewer. You can't just wait till the end and say, oh my goodness. So yes, it has to be self-funded.
Thank you, Jared. Has anybody from the audience prepared a question for the candidates this evening? No, anyone? Thank you so much to each of you for being here this evening. We'll take a 1 minute for closing remarks from each of you. Mrs. Bartlett, if you'd like to start.
All right, in closing, I just want you to understand that we need a woman's voice on this county council, ladies. We need grandmothers and great-grandmothers. We need mothers, we need working women, we need a voice. There are issues that we have. And so, please, give me an opportunity to go in there with these men. I don't know if I'll get another woman to come with me or not, but if we don't, and if I end up the only woman on that county council, you can bet you're going to hear from me.
Thank you. Jared.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and watching this. You are the select few, honestly, who really want to know about what's going on in the county and what the candidates have to say. I'd like to thank Mrs. Bartlett for coming to a number of these, and I'd like to say I agree with her on the idea of more recycling. I think it's a good idea. You know, good ideas can come from any place and all kinds of people, and I think we have to keep an open mind about things like that. I'm Jerry Donald. I live in this community. I've lived in this community, and no matter how this election turns out, I'm going to keep living in this community. You can talk to me about your problems in Middletown. The Burgess can talk to me every day he wants to talk to me. I see him fairly regularly. Your fire department concerns me because it's going to be my fire department that can cover up in my area of Braddock Heights. So I'm a part of this community. I will interface with you. I will work with you to deal with the county government. Thank you.